Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donahue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donahue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Well, hello, my friend. Oh, it's the dog days of summer. I don't know how it is by you, Sonia. Oof. It is hot, hot, hot here.
It is smoky here. If you have seen, California's on fire again. Whee! So it's kind of smoky here. But yeah, I'm just staying indoors.
Gotcha. We are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. I'm stuttering a little bit because this creep is super creepy, you guys. If you don't know who he is, buckle up.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I just want to let you know we are on Facebook at What a Creep. We have a basic Facebook page. We don't check it very often because that's usually just a place where people complain about our language. By the way, we use a lot of salty language in this podcast.
Yeah.
We do have a private Facebook group. You do have to answer a few questions, one of them being, please follow the rules of the group. And if you do that, we'll let you in. It's a nice, safe space on Facebook to hang out, where we talk about creeps and we talk about non-creeps and things like that. We're on Twitter at CreepPod because somebody had What a Creep for 10 years and never used it.
Creep!
We're on Instagram at What a Creep Podcast, and we have a basic old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Just spell that all out. We also have stickers for y'all. Anybody out there that wants stickers, send us an email with your address, and we will drop them in the mail for you.
Stickers are so cute. Get some.
Yes, the stickers are so cute. Sonia, do you want to tell them about the website?
Yes, I do. It's at whatacreeppodcast.com, and it's everything you ever wanted to know about our podcast, but we're afraid to ask. And there is a link to our merch shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and journals and throw pillows, whatever you want. I can testify the shirts are super comfortable.
They are indeed. Also want to thank people that left us 5-star reviews in iTunes, including Zakili, Catsitter88, and May2610 from all over the world. Thank you so much for leaving us views in iTunes. Also, we do have a Patreon page if you want to support the show. We have a few very affordable options. And what we do is we put out bonus episodes where we talk about creeps in the news, and we share life stories. We spill a lot more tea there because we figure we might not get sued on a Patreon page.
You're like, how come they never talk about Joe Rogan? You should sign up for the Patreon.
Just say it. So go to Patreon, look up What a Creep Podcast if you're interested. And Sonia, are you ready to start the show? Are you ready to rock?
I'm ready to rock. Yes, I am. Have you ever heard of James Toback?
Yes, I have.
He is a writer and director of such movies as The Pickup Artist, Black and White, and Two Girls and a Guy. Not Two Guys and a Girl in a Pizza Place. That's a TV show. We're talking about the movie Two Girls and a Guy. He was nominated for an Oscar for writing the screenplay for Warren Beatty's Bugsy. And he's also a super major creep who has been accused of sexually assaulting more than 300 women over a 40-year period. Sources for this episode, we list all of our sources. They're in the show notes. The Los Angeles Times has an amazing article that kickstarted this whole thing. The New York Times, Daily Beast, there's a video clip of Natasha Leggero. Did I pronounce that? Yeah, good job, Sonia, on Jimmy Kimmel Live, sharing one of her stories. Rolling Stone, Vulture, Vanity Fair, Variety, and of course, IMDb and Wikipedia. Trigger warnings for this episode include sexual assault, so many stories, and excessive use of the word jizz.
Oy.
I know. Sorry. I don't want to say ejaculate over and over. So I'm going to say jizz.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's start at the beginning. James Toback was born November 23rd, 1944 in Manhattan. He's a Sagittarius. Sorry to the Sagittarius folks that are listening. His mother was Selma Levy. She was president of the League of Women Voters and a moderator of political debates on NBC back in the day.
Wow.
And I know. Wow. And his father, Irwin Lionel Toback, was a stockbroker, and he was vice president at a company called Dreyfus and Company.
Jesus.
I know. Fancy people. Toback graduated from high school in 1963 and from Harvard College in 1966. While attending Harvard, he claims that he took the largest single dose of LSD in history. I don't know how you prove that.
Just one ascertain
But I love that he says that's a thing. He claims he was high for 8 days. I'm like, yeah, sure, maybe he was. I don't know. And according to Toback, he lost all fear of death due to this experience. I have never taken LSD, so I don't know what that's like. I think it sounds terrible.
Not saying anything over here.
Yeah. After graduating from Harvard, he worked as a journalist, and he had this writing assignment for Esquire magazine where he interviewed football player Jim Brown. And he actually lived with Jim Brown for a while in his house for a couple of years. While they were there, they just were leading a pretty crazy life. He engaged in orgies with women all the time. He was married at the time. He was married for a whole year to a woman named Consuelo Sarah Churchill Vanderbilt Russell.
Ooh, that's a name.
I know, right? I just barely spit it out. She is the daughter of Lady Sarah Spencer Churchill, the second cousin of Winston Churchill.
Holy shit.
I know. But their marriage lasted
Was she in the
a
orgies?
year. No, and I think that's why their marriage only lasted a year.
Jim Brown liked to party.
Yeah. And, for some people...
Yeah, he's letting off steam.
Yeah, and for some people, orgies are a deal breaker, so it sounds like she left after a year.
Right.
He is currently married to a woman named Stephanie Kempf, and they have a son together, and they are still together. Toback said that while he was living with Jim Brown, he was really bored with his life after college, and he was bored with his wife, and he saw Jim Brown as this symbol of freedom that he wanted to achieve. So he stayed there for a little while, but eventually he decided that's enough of that, and he moved out, and that's when he decided to make movies.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? He actually wrote a book about his experiences with Jim Brown, and it's called Jim, the author's self-centered memoir of the great Jim Brown. That's what it's called. I did not read it because fuck James Toback. In the early 1970s, Toback taught a creative writing class at the City College of New York, and he drew on his own life experience to write a screenplay called The Gambler, which sadly is not about the Kenny Rogers song.
Shit.
I know, total bummer. By the way, there is a whole Gambler TV movie trilogy, I think, with Kenny Rogers as the gambler. You could watch that. This one is a semi-autobiographical story about his time as a compulsive gambler. And I think it stars James Caan. So it's a movie.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Movie. He also directed a movie called Fingers
Ew.
in 1978. Just the name makes me go, ew.
Give me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, and then after that, he did a movie called Love and Money. That was in 1982, and he did one called Exposed in 1983, and all of these were flops, by the way.
I was going to say, I've never heard of
they're
one.
all flops. But like a lot of male directors, he wasn't really judged on his work. He was judged on his potential. So he was able to write and direct The Pickup Artist in 1987. And I know you just did this for Book versus Movie, so I'm dying to know, how was it when you watched it?
Well, it wasn't for Book versus Movie. It's for my book, which is called Film in Brooklyn.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I'm writing about book right now, and it's about film locations that take place in Brooklyn. And The Pickup Artist, there's a whole thing about Molly Ringwald's character. Molly Ringwald, who was 18 when she made this movie, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Living in Coney Island with her dad, Harry
Dean Stanton was her dad in Pretty in Pink.
Yeah. It's Dennis Hopper as her dad in the
okay.
And it's Robert Downey. He wasn't billed as Robert Downey Jr. yet. And,
interesting.
And Robert Downey Jr. plays this guy that goes around New York and hits on women so fucking aggressively It's obnoxious. Spoiler, by the way, you guys. And then he hits on Molly Ringwald. She has sex with him right away and then tries to dump him. And then he spends the rest of the movie following her around. And it turns out she has a gambling problem. You see, they both have addictions. Yeah, and her dad has an alcohol problem. And anyway, it's got interesting locations in New York City because he lives in the Upper West Side. And for New Yorkers, it's really cool to see New York back then. But the movie is just deeply unfunny and just kind of deeply gross.
When I start getting into the stories of what this creep did, you'll realize that the pickup artist is...
It's him.
It's him, yeah. He did that movie. He also wrote the screenplay for 1991's Bugsy, which, won some Academy Awards and was nominated for things. He didn't win anything, but he was nominated for stuff. And then after that, it was like Two Girls and a Guy. That was also with Robert Downey Jr. Black and White, which he did with some members of the Wu-Tang Clan in 1990. And Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was in it too. And Brooke Shields. He also did Harvard Man. There was a documentary in 2005 called The Outsider. He didn't do that. Someone else did that about him. I didn't watch it because I could not find it streaming anywhere. But some of the interviews about James Toback include Woody Allen, Mike Tyson, and Alec Baldwin. It's a who's who of who's been on our podcast.
Exactly.
Fucking creeps. In 2004, he wrote and directed a movie called When Will I Be Loved, starring Neve Campbell. By the way, he totally brags all the time that he made Neve Campbell a star. I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah. She wasn't on Party of Five or anything, or Scream.
Yeah, Scream didn't come out like fucking 8 years before that. Fuck off. He's such an asshole. Anyway, critics and audiences hated that movie because it's trash. In 2008, he did a documentary about Mike Tyson, also a rapist, convicted rapist, by the way. Everyone loves to forget about that. And then he did a documentary with Alec Baldwin in 2013 that was called Seduced and Abandoned. And it was all about like going to the Cannes Film Festival and trying to get funding for a movie. It's just a bunch. They're just fucking creeps, both of them. And then his last movie was called The Private Life of a Modern Woman, starring Sienna Miller. That was 2017. That's his last movie because on October 22nd, 2017, the Los Angeles Times ran this really big story in which 38 women came out and accused James Toback of sexual harassment or assault. He would approach women who were usually in their 20s or even in high school. Ugh. And then do the old, do you know who I am? Have you seen, Two Girls and a Guy or Black and White? And the answer was usually no, because nobody saw those. And then he would show them an article about himself that he just happened to have handy, tell them that he was going to make them a star. Then he would proceed to assault them in various ways. There are so many stories. I couldn't possibly share them all in our podcast. It would be hours long. I picked a handful. Like I said, y'all take care of yourselves and bear with me. There's a lot of sexual assault. Actress Adrienne LaValle said that in 2008, she auditioned for James Toback in a hotel room that ended with him trying to rub his crotch against her leg. When she was like, I'm out of here, he stood up and then he jizzed in his pants.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah. This dude is gross as fuck. He's so gross. Louise Post, she's a guitarist for Veruca Salt.
Yeah.
Was approached by Toback when she was a college student in 1987. She went to his apartment for an audition. He told her he would love nothing more than to masturbate while looking into her eyes. That's a quote.
Ew.
Karen Skillelair, a New York drama teacher, actor, playwright, she said in a 1997 meeting with Toback, he started grinding against her leg, and that she said, this is a quote, "It's a common thread among many women I know. After some mentions that they were sexually abused by a creepy writer-director, the response is, oh no, you got Tobacked."
Oh, wow.
It's a thing.
Holy shit.
It's not good when people use your name as a verb, FYI.
Yeah, no, normally.
Los Angeles radio reporter Anna Scott said when she was 18 years old, she was a senior in high school. He approached her at a deli that she was working at, told her he was working on a movie called Black and White. It stars Mike Tyson, he's casting unknowns. She met up time with him to talk, and they were like walking around Midtown, and really quickly he starts like asking her like really personal questions about like masturbation and what her pubic hair is like.
Oh,
and
God.
then I know. And then he would say, you have to be ready to turn yourself completely over to me. And she got a really creepy vibe and she just ran away. Good call. In the trailer for this actress, Echo Dannon, she was in Black and White. In his trailer, she went to his trailer for something. He put his hands on her thighs, telling her, if you look into my eyes and pinch my nipples, I'm going to come in my pants right now.
Yeah.
He's so gross.
Oh, my God.
Sorry, everybody. I know. It's awful. He approached another woman named Sari Kamin at a Kinko's in Manhattan's Upper West Side. This was in 2003. He pulled out a DVD copy of Two Girls and a Guy, because he just carries this around. It's like his fucking business card, right? Articles about himself, copies of the DVD. It says he wants to cast her in his next movie. He convinces her to go with him to like a hotel room because he needs to experience like a real connection with her. And then like once she gets there, he asks her to take off her clothes. Then he yells at her. He comments on her body. And then he knelt before her and began to hump her leg, basically, like a dog.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And then she jumped out of her chair and ran. Do you ever watch As the World Turns?
No.
I didn't either, but there was an actress on there named Terry Kahn. She was 23 at the time. She said that Toback approached her on the street about casting her in a movie. They met again at Central Park, and he took her to this, like, I guess, a secluded area.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the best way to get to know someone is you could see into their soul if you look into their eyes while they're experiencing an orgasm.
Oh, God.
And then he knelt before her and he was humping her leg. This is his thing. He humps legs. He's a leg humper. You hump her leg and then telling her to like look into his eyes, and then he jizzed in his pants.
Is that called frottage?
It's called what?
Frottage? I think that's the word, frottage.
I have never heard that term.
It's one of those terms we passed around in high school. It's like, how did Edward II die? And then the word frottage. And those are like that you would try to like sneak that into the yearbook and the newspapers. And frottage is rubbing against people with a sexual way. I'm not kidding you. I think that's
no. I believe you. I have never heard that.
Yeah. Frottage.
Yeah. So he did that to her, and then he asked to meet her for dinner, and then she proceeded to ignore all of his calls and never saw him again. Another girl who was 19 and living in Toronto, he approached her and asked her to audition for Harvard Man. So she met him at a hotel for what she thought was going to be an audition. Instead, he obsessively talked about masturbation. When she got up to leave, he told her that she got the part. And then while filming a monologue scene for the movie, he was basically rubbing his hands against his pants. Like he was masturbating on the set in front of people.
Oh, God. Was she in the movie?
Yes. Her name is Chantel Casinu. And she was 19.
Oh, God.
Another woman told a story about how she met him at his New York home and he wouldn't let her leave until she grabbed his nipples and looked in his eyes while he masturbated. Oh, this is his thing. Another woman who was a 20-year-old model was approached on the street. He took her to Central Park and then proceeded to grind on her leg. Shannon Wheeler was a 19-year-old dancer when she was approached by him, and he invited her to his house for a movie screening, and she showed up and she was the only one there. And while she was there, he pushed her down and he tried to rape her.
Oh, Jesus
And
Christ.
I know. And when she ran for the door, he blocked the door and then he started masturbating in front of her.
That's what Harvey Weinstein did. And
yes.
CK.
Yes. It's awful. Another woman told police that she agreed to go to a movie screening at his home, and then he did the same thing to her. He told her to masturbate. She complied out of fear, and then he was sitting on a chair, and then he started rubbing against her leg until he finished.
Oy, oy.
Yes.
He's
So a
playing
lot of
the
these
odds.
He is.
Yeah.
Like the pickup artist. A lot of these stories came from the Los Angeles Times article, and then after that article was published, 357 other women contacted the Los Angeles Times and said that Toback had sexually harassed them. And their accounts are over like a 40-year period. And then, I know, it's fucking bananas. One of those women was actress Selma Blair. I love Selma
Me
Blair.
too. And she's had a remission, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She just announced it this week.
Oh, that's good news.
Yeah.
I really, really like her. I think she's really great. And I love her in movies, and I just love her as a person. And
Same.
she was supposed to meet James Toback in a hotel bar to talk about auditioning for 2001's Harvard Man. He wanted to meet in his room, and she's like, "No, I'll meet you in the bar."
Mm-hmm.
And so she goes to the bar, she's waiting, and he sent somebody down and was like, "I'm not going to make it. You're going to have to come up to my room." Her career was just starting out at this point. Like, she had filmed Cruel Intentions, but it hadn't been released yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, well, they think my people think he's important, so I guess I should go up there.
Yeah, I'm sure
So
her
she-
agent told her to do it.
Yeah. So she goes up there. They talk for a while, and then eventually I can't continue to work with you unless you trust me. I need you to take off your clothes, and I need you to do the monologue naked. And then she says, "Well, why would I be naked? I'm a lawyer in a courtroom." Good questions. And he's like, "Because I need to see how your body moves and how comfortable you are with your body." Once again, she's like, "My people think he's really important." So she took off her sweater, like just her top. And he said to her, "You need a lot of work." And she was like, "What the fuck?" So she like puts her sweater back on, and she tries to leave, and he starts rubbing his penis through his pants and asking if she would fuck him. And she says, "No, aren't you married? Don't you have a wife?" And he's, gave her it's complicated and all this stuff. He's an asshole. And so she tried to leave. He blocked the door. And he said, "You have to do this for me. You cannot leave until I have release." It's so gross.
Ugh.
She was really scared,
Yeah.
as she should be, right? She said, "I just wanted to get out of the room without being raped." He walked her back to the bed. He sat her down, and he grinded on her leg and made her look into his eyes, like grabbed her face. And she was like forced to look into his eyes. And then her manager called her and said, "James Toback wants to see you again." And she said, "That man is vile, and I will never be in a room with him ever again. Do not send any more girls or women to him." That was the last time she saw James Toback, thankfully.
Holy shit.
Yeah. He also did this to Rachel McAdams. She was a 21-year-old theater student at the time. Rachel McAdams, of course, was in Spotlight and The Notebook, and she's great.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of those people who's awesome and everything. She auditioned for Harvard Man, told her that she needed more work, called her that night, asked her to come to his hotel room to talk about the part, that he was flying out the next day. This was their only chance to talk about the part. And then the minute she gets there, he's like, "I've been masturbating, thinking about you all day." And he asked her to read passages from different reviews of his movies to him while he masturbated. Eventually, he went to the bathroom, and then she left. And that she called her agent the next day and was like, "What the fuck?" And the agent said, and this is a quote, "I can't believe he did it again."
Oh my. What?
Right?
Oh
This isn't the first time this has happened. He did it the last time he was in town. He did it to one of my other actresses, and Rachel McAdams lost her shit.
No kidding.
It's
I
like-
am too. I'm so angry on her behalf.
Yeah, you sent her into the lion's den. It was so fucked up. I I would burn the whole building down. I'd be so mad. That's some bullshit that happened to her.
Bullshit.
Julianne Moore, we all know who Julianne Moore is. After the article came out, she posted on Twitter saying that James Toback approached her twice in the 80s with the same line, trying to get her to go back to his apartment. On the second time, she's like, you already tried this on me once before. I will never go back to your apartment with you. And then actress Natasha
Leggero, actually. I think it's a soft G.
Okay. She was on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and this is right after that article came out. And she said that she had a story too, that he ran into her somewhere, promised her this bright future in acting. For the part, she needed to grow out her armpit hair. And she was like, all right. So she grew out her armpit hair. Then she met him, and they met at Central Park, and he took her to this secluded part. And I guess it's called the Ramble, a specific part of the park.
I don't know Central Park very well. I know Prospect Park. Yeah.
He asked to see her armpit hair, and this is what she told Jimmy Kimmel. I showed it to him, and he's like, now I'm going to have to pleasure myself. So he started humping a tree. He's a tree humper. So great. He's fucking disgusting.
Oh my.
He's so disgusting.
God.
So, of course, James Toback has denied all of these allegations. He claims that for the last 22 years, it has been biologically impossible, quote unquote, for him to have sex with women, to even do that because he's on this medication for diabetes and a heart condition, and that he can't get it up.
Oh, sure.
Right. Yeah, because like almost 400 women fucking made up the same story over and over. The fuck off. He told Rolling Stone that the stories are too stupid to dignify and that it's pathetic lies. We already did an episode on Alec Baldwin. People have been asking Alec Baldwin about it. And then he just says that, you know, Jimmy has this reputation of like going up and saying provocative things to women. I've heard that. But when I'm with him, he's positively like just business.
But what the fuck does that mean?
Exactly. And that he said,
some goddamn standards.
I fucking hate that. Well, he doesn't hump Alec Baldwin's legs.
He doesn't try to rape me.
Happen. Yeah, I hate that shit.
Same.
And then and then someone else asked him, like, have you spoken to James Toback since all these allegations? And he said, I spoke with him a couple of times, and he's crushed by all of this.
Oh, good.
I'm so glad that, you know, and then he said James Toback understands why Alex can't work with him right now. There's not much people can do for him right now. It's like he only cares about his friendship with James Toback. Alec Baldwin's
He's
prick.
Such a prick.
Such a prick. After the article came out, and then after all these other women came out, and once again, links in the show notes, the Daily Beast did a really good compilation of all the women on social media sharing their stories. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't share them all here. The episode would just be too long. But 5 of the women actually went to the police and tried to press charges. But the district attorney's office in LA said that they all fall out of the statute of limitations.
It's only a couple of years, I think, right?
I think it falls under aggravated sexual assault or something. It's very technical. Why it's like a year or something. It's like a year after it happened. It's some bullshit. They need to rewrite these laws. Mm-hmm. Because it's messed up. But this is his MO. He walks up to women, says, you're going to be a huge star, audition for me, and then he humps their leg. It's gross.
Ugh.
It's disgusting. And much like Louis C.K. and other creeps like Harvey Weinstein, these women, a lot of them drop out of, they wanted to be actors. They had passions, they had dreams, they had jobs they wanted to do. And then they're like, if this is what it is, no thanks. And they drop out, and it just fucking sucks.
Right.
It makes me so angry. And that's our creep. I can't wait to fucking take a shower now. So gross.
He is so gross. And yeah, the pickup artist, it's, oh God, first of all, Molly, like I said, 18 years old. That she made this, and this was her first like adult movie that she did, and yeah, there's a whole, I'll just ruin it for you guys, but there's a whole scene where Robert Downey Jr. hits on her and she has sex with him right away in a car, But
Yeah.
it's funny because I remember, I'm watching, I'm like, she doesn't make a sound. He's just talking the whole time. And then she says, can you just shut up for a few seconds? I'm going to come. And there's just like no sound, nothing. Like he has no interest in women's pleasure. He has no idea what that would mean. Mm-mm. It's just, ugh.
He's trash and he's fucking gross. I mean, ugh.
Yuck.
I hope he never works again. I wish he would go to jail, but it doesn't sound like that's going to happen.
Well, he's not going to work again. How old is he?
He's got to be in his 70s at this point.
Yeah. And there's just no great James Toback movie that anybody talks about.
No, he's trash.
Yeah. Do you want to hear about somebody who isn't trash?
Please. Okay. I'm dying to hear it.
I'm going to take a sip of water and we'll get into it. Sonia.
Yes.
Do you know comedian Kelsey Kane?
No.
Kelsey Kane is a comedian. She started a few years ago after Louis C.K. and all the charges came out, and he gave his half-assed apology and then just immediately went on the road again, like just under a year later. Mm-hmm. She created a character called Penis C.K. And she would wear a raggedy wig, red wig on her hair, a crappy beard, black T-shirt, and then she would put a dildo in her jeans and have the dildo hang out. And she would just go on stage and just tell jokes and rub off this.
I'm sorry.
And just shocked. Oh, and she did a whole thing like you remember the Louis the TV series? They play that Louis song. She did a thing where she's like going up the subway stairs. She's got the dick hanging out, and she goes to the pizza place and she's like whacking off as she gets pizza, and she's just walking all over. And then she goes to the Comedy Cellar.
I'm writing this down. I hope nobody sees my dry erase board, but I'm writing Penis CK on my
You can find her on Twitter. And people said, well, that's kind of intense and very uncomfortable. She goes, you think? Do you think maybe?
Too bad.
Her whole point is that's what he was doing to people who didn't want to see his dick, that just wanted to, have some comedy and just have some fun. That's what he did. So that was her whole thing. She doesn't do that now, you guys. Don't worry about it. She hasn't done it in a while. You could definitely see her comedy. She's amazing. But her whole thing is she wants to shame people who do shitty things. She's not a lawyer. She's not a cop. She's not somebody very powerful in Hollywood. So the only thing what she's got going for her, like what you and I do, is she calls out creeps. And she said there's this whole whisper network for years. This promoter, that booker, that comedian, if you're drunk, he'll take advantage of you. This person will do this. This person will masturbate in front of you if you don't know better. People know about these creeps. And they get away with it because there's mostly men in comedy, especially white men, really lock it down. They don't want women there. Or if they do, they want to be able to take advantage of them.
Right.
And she's calling out the bullshit. And we talked about there's a comedian that's been accused of rape, Brian Kalin. The husband of the rape victim tried calling out, like, why are people booking this guy for gigs? And then Kalin tried to sue him. He had to drop the lawsuit later. But she's just calling out local clubs like, why do you have this person on your show? Why did you book that person for your gig? Because she wants a safe environment for the women and men. The men can get sexually harassed as well by these people, and just to call out the rapists. And she says, and this is another thing, and this is something we need to talk about, is like, people don't know what sexual assault is. They just decide it's just rape. So anything else isn't that bad. It's not as bad. So it's not then worth litigating or calling it out. And I've heard people say, well, it's not like he raped anybody or whatever. We've had we did his episode on our show. We got a lot of doofuses who would tweet at us and try to dox us, and it was just
my gosh, the Louis C.K. one was it was the most aggressive responses to that episode. I was like, oh, this sucks, but because he literally Louis C.K. he admitted to what he did,
right,
and there were still people that were like, well, And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
But I think he gives me the chuckles. His whole thing now is he's on tour and he has a big lit up sign that says "I'm sorry" behind him. Get it? Because it's a fucking joke that he sexually assaulted all these women.
I am so disappointed in that guy.
Yeah.
Because I do think like he would have been someone who could have used his platform to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And like try to make amends, really apologize, fucking dig deep and learn something. And he just decided, nah,
Too much work.
Yeah, it's too much work. I don't want to work on myself. I'm going to try to convince others. I'm going to punch down. I'm like, oh, fuck that guy.
Seriously, fuck him. That's her point as well. There was an article about her in the Daily Dot, and I'll post it into the Facebook group. I didn't want to do it yesterday because I wanted to kind of like I wanted to kind of announce it myself because I just think she's awesome. Once again, follow her on Twitter. She started a podcast network. It's called Two Scoops Network. So follow her. Check out her shows. She's hilarious too. She has videos. If you go to her website, kelseykane.com, she has all of her gigs that she's done in the past, and she's been on other podcasts. She's hilarious. She's super, super funny, but she's just got no time for sexual assault. And she's just tired of it. And
nobody's got time for that.
No one's got time for that shit anymore. Time's up. So that's her whole thing. That's Kelsey Kane. That's our non-creep this week. And she's just freaking hilarious, but she's also incredibly brave. And she says she's scared all the time because she gets attacked on Twitter.
It's just ridiculous. There's so many talented comedians out there. Mm-hmm. Why do we need these creeps who had their shot and fucking blew it by being gross, so to speak, by being so fucking gross and creepy and sexual assaulty and red flaggy and all those things. Mm-hmm. Like there's plenty to take your place.
Yeah.
Brian Cullen, fuck that guy. I don't need to see him. There's plenty of funny comedians out there.
Right.
So that's an excellent pick. Thank you, Margot. I wrote it down.
Good. Everybody write that down. Kelsey Kane, because she's wicked awesome. I don't know if she's from Boston or not, but I'm just going to say that.
She's wicked awesome.
If you like the sound of our voices, and if you've made it this far, you probably do. We also co-host a podcast about movies and TV shows that we love, and it's called Dorking Out. And Sonia, do you want to talk about the next episode?
Yes. This next one is going to be Ghost, starring national treasure, R.I.P. Patrick Swayze, and Demi Moore. I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm going to watch it tonight. I know that you already rewatched it, and it's going to be a good one.
Whoopi Goldberg is fucking hilarious. If her back hurt at the end of the shooting, it's because she was carrying this movie. That and Demi Moore's tears. I mean, Patrick Swayze's great. But it's just as funny as I remember. It's just as exciting as I remember. It's so interesting as a New Yorker to see Soho as a fucking dump. Like, you couldn't afford any of those places now.
I just remember Demi Moore had the most amazing pixie cut in that movie.
She barely has a stitch of makeup on either, and she's stunning. She's so beautiful. Tony Goldwyn is in here. He's really handsome. He takes his shirt off a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, I love Patrick Swayze.
Yes.
I have a soft spot for him. Like, he's not like my type where I'm like, I totally hit that. It's just, I have always really, yeah, I probably would. I just always really liked him. I felt like he's once again, he's one of those people who's always just really good in everything. And we've talked about him before. Like we did Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar.
And Point Break.
And Point Break. He's great. I love Patrick Swayze. So I'm really excited to watch that movie tonight and talk about it tomorrow.
Yep. So once again, that is Dorking Out. Be sure to follow us on all the social media things. We love it when you use the GIF of Annie Potts in Ghostbusters that says we got one. But when you come up with a creep or a non-creep, and we're always looking for suggestions for non-creeps. Trust me, the world is really messed up right now. We could also use that good news. Yes. Please follow us on all the things. Once again, our email is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, where I make TikToks mainly about my dogs.
Yes.
How about you, Margot?
You can find me on social media at Brooklyn Fitchick, mostly for Twitter and Instagram. And my site is brooklynfitchick.com. Thank you all for joining us today. Be sure to wash your hands, stay safe, avoid the Delta variant like as much as you fucking can, please. We want to meet up in Chicago in the end of September. We want everything to be okay.
Yes.
And don't be a creep.
Creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.